O'Connor, and I'm housing the Keahi Strong kids right now that single-handedly saved 20 children, babies. Their sister escaped the fire at Lahaina Luna. The other brother came running, got hit by a tourist car. They run over his foot. They knocked him into the fire. He caught on fire. They turned around, looked right at him, left him for dead. Truck picked him up, took him to Pele Plaza. I housed 3 other men the other night. The man lost his aunt, her husband, 4 children burned alive in their car. We've got 1,526 faces and names on Instagram that the kids, this generation, are looking for because they're good at that.
Yeah.
You know, countless people have died. There's apparently over 1,000 body bags in Matson containers and refrigerated trucks on the other side of the island right now. You know, I heard 10 firemen died. It's not the firemen's fault.
Yeah.
They didn't have access to water. Water was shut off. Firemen died. The government kind of blamed them. They didn't sound a siren. There was no helicopters that came. No one knew. There were people had gone and picked their kids up from school and brought them home and left them home. One of the kids that was staying at my house, she went knocking on all the neighbors' doors. There was a 10-year-old girl with a crib with a baby in it. She grabbed the baby, grabbed the girl, got her out of there.
Why do you think they didn't turn the sirens on?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think there's a lot going on here that is way beyond anything that anybody wants to believe.
Yeah.
But there was no warning. Fires went from 4 o'clock until 7 o'clock at night going. No military came. The whole community is mourning the deaths of over 1,500 people. They killed innocent men, women, and children by not helping, by not sounding alarms. People were asleep in their homes with their babies and their children. We still have no Spectrum cable, no internet. We're not seeing anything. Everyone else around the world knows what's happening except for us.
You mentioned earlier the...
Hey there, Patriots. This is True Outlaw Patriot here, coming at you with another one. I came across some extra footage that I wanted to put together that would show some more information. It seems that the media, some of the social media platforms, they're trying to slowly fade this story away. As I said my previous videos, that's what they're planning on doing, little by little. Even to the point where, as yesterday, my last video I put out, that the police chief has lowered the death count to 97. At first it was 115, now it's down to 97. So the governor says 115, now the police chief is saying 97. Truth of the matter is that it's way more than that. Okay? And they're trying to just basically put a veil over everybody's eyes for whatever nefarious reason, in my opinion, because that's what it's become, and that's what everybody's beginning to notice. But before I continue, I just want to thank all my subscribers. Got my 70th subscriber today. Thank you so much. And I got more subscribers on Rumble, so please check me out on Rumble also. And don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and pass it around. And let's work together and spread awareness. Okay? If people don't talk and stand up for each other in some way, shape, or form, things like this will keep happening until people get so complacent that in their minds it'll just be a movie. Nothing to get excited about. Just turn it off or switch to something else and pretend like nothing matters and that human life is worthless. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. But as you've seen this woman talking, this was recorded about 3 weeks ago, and she says some interesting things there that you guys heard. Okay, about what the body count is, the death count, what she had to do to help people, stories of family and friends, whole family being burned alive. And it's strange that the governor and the police chief keep saying that and the media, they keep talking about that one child that died with his dog. Meanwhile, this woman just said that a family friend, the family that died, there was 4 children with them that died. Okay? And you heard what she said about the school buses. Okay? And this is why I bring this up. What she didn't say about school buses, she said that people were told to pick up their kids at school, which means that, what? There was school. Okay? They flipped that narrative. And they've been flipping that narrative saying that no, there was no school. So I got to open up this, I got to open up this can again about a certain content creator who's talking about that there were no kids taken in school buses and, forget about that conspiracy. Obviously, if there was kids in school, it would mean that some kids were taken from school. So there was school buses working. Okay? Other people are saying there was no school. But this was 3 weeks ago. I'm going to show you some other clips also. The last one that I'm going to show you is something that everybody needs to pay attention to, and I'll put my thoughts on it. But without further ado, let's keep this rolling.
Saving grace. If I was in my car listening to all the policemen that were out there, I would have been dead, like most of my other friends and relatives. Ran down to LAHAINA Road, got down to the light. Luckily, I found my daughter down there in her truck, so I did get into a vehicle at that point. We're being blocked right there. Couldn't go anywhere by a police officer. But we were one of the smarter people, disobeyed the cops. I just went down. We had to go down Front Street in order to save ourselves. I had a whole family in my car, including the 2-year-old.
Now, if anybody remembers in a lot of my videos, also a lot of videos that are circulating, you'll hear this story a lot about how a lot of people disobeyed the cops telling them where to stop and where they couldn't pass. So they would basically work their ways around the barricades and stuff. And sure enough, from what we know so far, pretty much, if they're telling the story, that means that those are the ones that survived. Don't know if anybody else did the same thing but didn't make it. But you hear a lot more stories about that. What I don't understand is the investigation of if people are saying this, how come nobody is investigating those cops that were on patrol that day? Okay. Now, I'm gonna let this play so you guys can hear what she has to say. This was from that council meeting back on this past Thursday. Today's the 17th. This was on the 14th, 3 days ago. And it's hard to believe that the police chief is not manning up to this. Okay, that he's not manning up to the fact of the reports of people saying that cops were telling them they were basically barricading roads and telling people which way to go, which was all wrong. Okay, and she has an interesting point the way she says that cars were basically going into each other, and you'll see what she's talking about. And I don't care what anybody says. Like I said in my last video, the police chief has a stake in this claim, in some way, shape, or form. Okay, either he's trying to show face to make himself look good because he knows he was incompetent, that everything that was done was just done wrong, so they're trying to stray away from the fact. But the truth of the matter is, until the official body count comes out, until every single man, woman, and child is accounted for, this is what they're going to have to live with. They keep saying that it's going to take years to rebuild. Yeah, and there's also going to be years of scrutiny if you guys don't fess up and say the truth. But let's continue.
There was no way I was going to sit there and listen to this cop telling us to stay put. Went down Front Street, total mess, so many cars. We're looking at 10,000 people trying to get out right away, all at the same time in the tiny little streets of LAHAINA. Everybody being forced to Front Street, not being able to drive on the highway because there were some power lines down in that immediate area. We went through Safeway parking lot, saw the power lines there. So we ended up going out. Finally, we did escape out the Fleming's chart house exit to go north. We went north. Free sailing at that point after Fleming's got out there. They hadn't blockaded us yet. I was one of the lucky few that got out that way. No power lines whatsoever. It was a safe exit all the way north. And we got to Honokawai that way. After me, though, they decided to block it. And there was still no power lines down because I did come out the next morning and I saw the death trap. It was where there were no power lines still yet the following morning. Everybody could have gotten out. Everybody could have gone out. It was free sailing going north. But the police officer there, quote unquote, from direct other residents who talked to him, were walking, saw all the cars stopped. He finally walked all the way up to the front at the exit, policeman standing there. And the guy said to the policeman, "There's a fire. The fire is coming. You got to let these people go. I've got orders." We need to investigate that. Who is giving these cops orders? I mean, the police officer might be taking orders. It's not his fault personally. But there's somebody above him that did this. And they need to investigate that. And then John said the far end of Front Street was blocked, bringing him in that way, and then blocked this way. It's obvious we were intentionally trapped. And I hope that this gets investigated further. And I have the eyewitnesses who have spoken to that cop directly.
Thank you.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Williams. Before you.
Okay, now you guys heard that. You heard her testimony, and a lot of people are going to stray from that and be like, no, that wasn't true. People were being sent this way and that way to safety, and the cops were doing their best. Now, I haven't heard the report yet, if there's one out there, but I have not heard of one police officer dying during this fire. Okay. As we heard in the last clip, supposedly 10 firefighters passed away. I really haven't heard anything like that either. Is it a possibility? Yes. Firefighters tend to pass away, unfortunately, while they're putting out a fire because it gets so hectic. They're carrying a lot of gear. They basically run towards the fire. Okay. But a lot of people, I've been noticing, have been trying to stray away from this type of testimony. Okay. And the police chief keeps saying, no, we didn't block anybody. That's not true. This, and that. You know, we were doing our best to try to help. But you seen in a couple of my other videos with the police officer on the bullhorn telling people to, get away from the donation centers, that they were being closed down. A lie by the police chief saying that never happened, and the governor. But obviously it's on video. Okay? People saying that no, the roads are open, but certain ones were closed because of power lines being down. I showed some of that stuff on some of my other videos that wasn't true. So now you heard what she's saying, and this is basically testimony where a lot of people need to understand that this is where the federal government has to step in. If anybody in the federal government at this particular time has a heart, okay? Because it just seems too damn quiet for investigations not to be truly happening. Now, there is rumor on the media that there is some investigations going on, that people are, bringing the lawsuits. But the number one person, in my opinion, that should be brought and be broken, to say the truth, is the police chief. Okay? And I say that because the police chief is the one right in the middle when it comes to authority power. Okay? Above him will be the governor. Below him will be his deputies and all that. So if the people are saying that cops were barricading them in, telling them that they couldn't pass, and they're saying this is coming from a higher up, which we already seen on a video coming straight out one of the police officers' mouths, then that means that it's the police chief that needs to be investigated. Okay? Now, to back up this woman's claim, the last clip I'm going to show you is going to prove what she said. And I'll point out some facts. so like that everybody could understand that this whole thing about Maui, there are too many conspiracy theories going on. No, it's not conspiracy anymore. It's all turning out to be facts. So whoever's out there trying to downgrade the situation, whoever's out there saying that no, kids were not taken in school buses, whoever's out there saying no, that they did everything that they could, just stop with the bullshit, because the truth is going to keep coming out until it's fully out. And the last thing anybody wants to do, including myself, is to be at the crap end of the stick saying oops. And I try my hardest to not put any kind of narrative out there, or any kind of information, I should say, out there that sounds more like a narrative, like I'm trying to go along with everybody. No, I'm trying to see what's what and trying to put out as much truth as possible. So pay attention to the next clip and I'll give you my thoughts on it. Now this clip, I have the audio muted only because there's music in the background and I don't know if it's copyrighted. So even though we always do a copyright check, it lets us know before after we finish editing. I'm just gonna keep the music off and I'm just gonna go along with the drone footage that you're about to see right now. So here we go. Now supposedly this was taken, I believe, the very next day after the fire. Okay. Now right off the bat, you can see where, let me look at the streets. They're empty. Okay. And you can still see smoke, everything's still smoldering. But you're gonna see something very interesting that backs up this woman's claim, and has been backing up the claim of a lot of people, where they were basically boxed in. Okay, so you see the drone, you see the cars going up Front Street, and they're all in a disarray. Okay, but you seen back here before the drone came up, it was totally empty, which means that a lot of people were coming from this side. Who knows why this whole strip back here, there was no cars or anything like that. So as we go along, okay, this is the drone going along. We'll stop right here and just pay attention to all the cars. Okay, let's go along a little more and then we'll stop. Look at all the cars going this way. So this woman's claim was right. You got cars going up this way. You got a bunch of cars coming back down this way. I counted in the video when it started, when I first seen it, there was about 25-30 cars on this side. There's about 25-30 cars here. If you can count which ones are pointing this way, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Well, I say 12, and that one was spun around. You got this one here looking that way as 13. So I'm a little off on the numbers, but definitely up this way is about 20. So you're looking at about close to about 40 cars. Okay. When you look at the videos of the people that had jumped over the seawall, it's safe to say a lot of people from these cars jumped over. But on a lot of the videos, you'll see that there's either green or orange, I believe. There's X's on some of these cars, which means that if anybody knows about a fire, natural disaster, I mean, they did it in Hurricane Katrina, they would put symbols on buildings and stuff like that, and that's where they found bodies. So when you see an X like that on a burnt vehicle, a burnt house or something, that's because there was bodies pulled from that. So we're going to go a little further with this drone footage, okay? And as I said, you see all the cars that were turned this way. Now, we're going to stop right here. You see cars going this way, this way. You see these cars going this way? They're burnt. They're stopped. Which means that this is where one of the barricades was probably at. There was probably a police cruiser there telling people, no, turn around, go this way. As you can see, you see poles and stuff like that. Could be trees, poles, and all that. You don't see any down power lines as far as you can see. Nothing. Nothing, 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 nothing. Okay? But I'm going to show you something very interesting. We'll go a little closer. And as you stop, does anybody know what all that is on the ground where my green pointer's at? You see that line on the pavement? That, in my opinion, is the burnt power lines. Okay? You see the power poles? Nobody sees anything falling over, barricading, to make it hard for people to pass. Nothing. Which means that if these power lines were down, everybody should have been going up on this side. Okay? Now, people will say, well, they moved everything. No, they didn't. This drone footage was taken the day right after. Okay? Look at the power lines. Look at the power lines. Open, open road, open road, open road, open road, open road, open road. What happened? Who stopped those people? Every cop on duty that day should be brought in by the federal government and questioned to the fullest. The police chief needs to be stripped of his badge and arrested and brought before a judge. The governor needs to step down and he needs to be investigated. Forget about the guy that was in charge of the water. He already said why he did it. It was all about equity. He's a fool. He needs to live in shame. The guy that didn't sound the sirens, Adaya, whatever his last name is, I forgot. He did the right thing. He resigned the very next day due to health reasons. If I had to guess, it was because that dude's heart was probably going to explode because he knew that what he was a part of, he could not handle it. Okay? What's her name that was on the housing board? Nani? She resigned. Not because she couldn't handle the stress. It was because she knows that she's been investigated for the longest. You've seen that on my last video of the man that confronted her during the town hall meeting. I want to show you guys something else that what I was talking about yesterday of a gentleman that said it looked like there was some sort of it almost feels like if there was an accelerant put in order for this fire to go out of control. And I had mentioned this in some of my one or two of my videos over a week ago, almost 2 weeks ago, of how I just felt that in some way things were being flammable as if something was sprayed. So we'll keep going with this drone footage, and you see all the fire, and then look at the abrupt stop. Everything's burnt, goes all the way around, but look at these neighborhoods, nice and green, nice and green. But yet the fire, it's almost as if somebody put something for the fire to travel. As if you make, I don't know, a design would pour something out and just throw a match to it and you watch it, you throw some gasoline on a straight line, that'll go straight. You throw it in a zigzag, it'll go zigzag. You know what I mean? So this is what I find strange. Now, the drone goes right. You see how green all this is. But now look at this. This is all torched. This is green. That's all torched. That's green. That's all torched. That's green. That's green. But yet the fires were supposedly coming from way up here in the mountains. How did the fire come from there, torch it like if it was bouncing the fire? And just latching onto something, burning it down, jumping over, and burning something else. I'm not a scientist, but I find that to be totally impossible. If you had looked at this and told me that a tornado, F5 tornado did this, That is more understanding. Tornadoes jump and bounce and flip, and I mean they'll just skip and cause all kinds of damage. Sometimes they just stay on the ground non-stop. They'll go 50, 60, 100 miles, tearing up everything in its path. And then sometimes it'll turn. It just depends. But since when does a fire act like this? Okay. Now, what I didn't point out, but if you look back on the video, you'll see that you do not find not one burnt police cruiser. Okay? Not one burnt police cruiser, not one burnt EMS ambulance. From what I've seen so far, I haven't seen none of that. Not one burnt fire truck. Okay? It was almost as if as soon as they knew that they had everybody jammed up enough to get confused where they know they couldn't get out, like cattle. I hate using that. God forgive me, if everybody forgive me for saying that. But it's as if they just got everybody together and then they all turned around and said, okay, we're done, let's go, pull back. Okay? This whole thing, in my opinion, was by design. In some way, shape, or form, this has all the markings of planning, in my opinion. In my opinion. For this kind of destruction to be so, how can I say, for fire to pick and choose its target, I can't believe that. Because to me, a wildfire is not biased. It's just going to go and latch itself on and just keep going. Now, you just seen right here. Okay, let's just go back a little bit. Right here. Okay? What do we see here? What is that? That's a waterway. Okay, that goes down. It picks up whatever excess water, and this goes back up. How did that fire cross all that, stop here, but now look at when the drone pans away, and then starts over here on this side and starts on that side. How is that possible? Let's just go back a little more. Okay? If you had told me there was high rises up here, 30, 40, 50 story high rises, and they caught fire, that to me, I find that, to me, that's possible. Because the building's burning, it's high up, debris being flown out with all the high winds, and it's catching over here. But how did the fire get here? There's nothing else for it to burn on. It's all concrete and water. And there was water running that day, because there's a video of a gentleman that said he ran through one of these sections in another part of town when the fire was coming, and he jumped into the water to soak himself. Because that's the only water that he saw, so he wanted to just soak his body in water, and he just laid on it. And he said the wind was blowing, and he could feel the flames. But now here's the thing. Let's say that happened here. How come all that's fine? How did all this get burned? The flames are burning. The fire jumps. Doesn't touch anything here. But it's selective. Basically. It grabs onto that. Now look at this waterway. It goes all the way around. All the way around. This is burnt. Those are fine. Nothing there to burn on. You mean to tell me that fire jumped and just kept going this way, this way, this way? It just, to me, it defies logic when it comes to something like this. So to all the naysayers out there that are trying to call this down, to all the mainstream media that doesn't want to keep talking about this, I say shame on you all. Okay? To all the people that want to say that, you know, a lot of the stories are conspiracy theories and people need to stop, shame on you. To all the officials that are lying about the death count, shame on you. To anybody involved that doesn't have an ounce of humanity in them, to want to find out what exactly happened and to stand by the victims and start pushing back hard on the powers that be, I say shame on you. I know that I'm behind a camera. I'm putting stuff together, trying to put it out. I'm trying to do my part. You know why? When 9/11 happened, we didn't have this level of technology to put stuff together, to put out the word of what the people saw and what we thought down at Ground Zero on 9/11. All we have is stories. Like, I have a family member who was told he could work down there and do cleanup, and he wound up dying very young, not too long after that, of an unknown cancer. And it was because when the powers that be said that the air was clean, they lied. And I know of a couple of people that contracted some sort of weird cancer. See, we didn't have the platforms back then, 22 years ago, to jump on and make video and try to spread awareness. We had to do it by word of mouth with our cheap cell phones and, you know, try to go on. I don't even think Facebook was a thing back then. I'd have to look back. I know MySpace was a big thing back then. But we weren't put on a media lockdown the way they're doing now. Okay? And this is why I say that everybody needs to do their part if you care. If you don't, and you don't want to be bothered with it, then that's on you. That's fine. You just go about your business. Let other people deal with it. But if you're just going to go and spread rumors or try to thwart the truth, you need to back up. Because you're not on the right side doing the right thing. But anyway, I'm True Outlaw Patriot. Hope you like to comment. Hope you like the content, I should say. Sorry. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And pass it around. Okay? Again, I want to thank all my new subscribers. And I didn't reach the 100th my birthday like I was hoping, but it's fine. So far, I'm up to 70, and I hope the channel just keeps growing. And remember, people, don't forget, and we can't let this die, especially for the children's sake. You've already heard some testimony. Many children have perished. Okay, which means that the death count is definitely high, and many children are unaccounted for. Regardless of what you want to believe, it doesn't change the fact that they're unaccounted for. Okay? So we gotta keep praying for them. And whichever way you guys can reach out to help, by all means, find a way. Okay, I'm not asking for money, nothing like that. I'm saying you find a way. Make sure that it's legit, so like that you don't get burnt, and you know where your hard-earned donations are going. And until then, stay vigilant, keep praying, and keep praying for each other. Peace.